Hi guys, Phil here. Hope you all had an amazing bank holiday weekend. I certainly did. Lovely weather out here again today, so can't complain. Well, just going to review this weekend's Premier League football just gone like we always do. Great weekend of football again, I thought. The early game involved my team Tottenham against Liverpool, drawing 1-1. Thoroughly entertaining game, I thought. Point, both teams will feel they should have won the game, according to both managers. I thought Spurs were rather fortunate, didn't play well for an hour until the second Liverpool disallowed goal. Then I thought we played well the last half hour and looked the more likely team. But all in all, two attacking teams look very good going forward. I still think there'll be a little bit of business from Tottenham before the window shuts. I still think Liverpool need a centre-back on that performance. And Daniel Sturridge didn't look too happy, I have to say, with Origi coming on before him up front. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the early game was very, very good. Then moving on, Chelsea made it 3 from 3 under Antonio Conte. And in fairness, Burnley didn't put up much resistance this week, I have to say. Chelsea pretty much run riot. Eden Hazard looked in ominous form, if I'm being honest. He looks like the player of the season from 2 years ago again, after his little hissy fit last year. And yeah, Chelsea look very, very good and have to be strong contenders for the title, having seen them so far. No European football for them will be an absolute huge bonus, because they can just prepare game to game to game, not having to worry about midweek football. So again, pretty impressed with Chelsea this weekend. Arsenal away at Watford, I thought looked a particularly tricky tie, considering Arsenal hadn't played that well this season. First half, Arsenal were brilliant. They run into a 3-0 lead. They ran riot, although Watford didn't help their cause with some of their defending. Could only praise Arsenal. Then second half, Arsenal almost switched off. Watford scored early on, could have had a penalty, had a couple of chances. So Arsenal will need to be wary of that, of getting themselves into a lead and then switching off, because if they were playing a better team than Watford this week, it really could have hurt them. But Arsenal won 3-1. Crystal Palace against Bournemouth. Now, in the betting odds, I saw a lot of value in Crystal Palace this weekend. The price was miles out, I thought. And only saw the highlights, but it looked a decent game of football, I have to say. Palace missed a penalty early doors after Bournemouth already went 1-0 up. But second half, it was just wave after wave of Palace attacks of what I saw. They scored late on. Scott Dan scored a really good goal, but they pushed him up front the last 10 minutes. Benteke was there. Looked a little bit rusty for Palace, I have to say, but I think that's just due to not playing any football pre-season for Liverpool. But I think Benteke will be a very good signing for Crystal Palace. Palace will be disappointed they didn't win the game, in fairness, but the plus side is they haven't lost. So a score draw there. The interesting thing today, with a day to go in the transfer window, is that Crystal Palace are looking to take Jack Wilshere on loan from Arsenal. Now, I think that would be an amazing signing for Palace if it happens. So we'll wait and see with that. But again, I think Palace still need one or two before the window shuts, if I'm being honest. And Bournemouth just needs to... I think Eddie Howe needs to work out what his best team is. He's brought in a lot of bodies during the transfer window, and it's not quite gelled and clicked yet for them. So only time will tell there. Then we had Everton beating Stoke 1-0. Another penalty. Stoke haven't had a lot of luck with penalties so far this season, but I think the ref got it right, in fairness. Stoke will also feel hard done by. They haven't got anything from this game. They created chances. For me, they did enough to get something from the game. Everton are still searching for their best 11, best formula under Koeman. They've got players coming back to fitness. Ashley Williams and Lukaku both started their first Premier League games this weekend. And I think they'll do a little bit of business before the window shuts still. So it's hard to judge teams until we know what their final squad is, in fairness. But Everton have made a very solid start to life under Ronald Koeman. Stoke still looking for something. I still think they're lacking a goal scorer, an out-and-out forward. It's interesting to hear today they're trying to negotiate the Berahino deal still. So I think Berahino would be a good signing for Stoke. I'd take him at Tottenham as well if I'm being honest, but he wouldn't be first choice there, so he'd probably favour a move to Stoke. But Everton ran out 1-0 winners in that game. Champions Leicester faced Swansea this weekend in a game was dominated by Leicester, yet Swansea almost nicked something. Jamie Vardy finally got his account open for the season after squandering some really good opportunities in the first couple of games this season, so he'll be happy with that. They scored a good second goal, and then Mahrez missed another penalty, so I'd be amazed if he was still on penalty duties next week. I think he's missed his last 3 Premier League penalties now, so I'm sure they'll relieve him of that duty. Then Swansea scored late on and had a really good chance to nick something near the death. They wouldn't have deserved it, but they had the chance to. Blow for Leicester was Kasper Schmeichel coming off injured, and the news broke he had surgery on a hernia problem yesterday, so he's going to be out for about 4 weeks. So that's a blow for Leicester, losing one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. So it'll be interesting to see whether they try and do a loan deal maybe in the window to cover that loss. But Leicester up and running, 2-1 winners over Swansea. Then we had Southampton versus Sunderland. Now, on Saturday, I commented to a couple of lads in the office that I thought the Saints' price was ridiculous. They were far too short odds, considering they haven't played that well this season under the new manager. And it proved to be again, they huffed and they puffed, but just lacked a real cutting edge. I thought Sunderland scored with about 10 minutes to go. Jermaine Defoe penalty, and again Stonewall penalty. They can't be arguing with that. The young lad Pickford played in goal for Sunderland. Played really well, but he'll be disappointed with the goal that they conceded with 4 minutes to go. His handling has been really good all game, but he should be saving the Joe Rodriguez equaliser for Saints. It's a point that I don't think either team will be particularly happy with. Saints looking to win their home games and should be winning their home games, and then Sunderland taking the lead late on and squandering it like that. Both teams will be disappointed. So the late game on Saturday was Hull against Man United. Now, how this only finished 1-0 to Manchester United and they scored in the 91st minute, I don't know. It was one-way traffic the whole game. Hull were resolute. They defended bravely, and I wouldn't have begrudged them a point if I'm being honest, but they switched off. Marcus Rashford stole in and nicked it deep in Fergie time, as I'm sure it'll be called Jose time now, to make Manchester United 3 from 3, and the Mourinho bandwagon rolls on. They will be hot. I think they'll be massive title contenders this season. That's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but they just look a team that doesn't know when they're beaten. They kept going. They had all the possession, all the ball, and they got the job done. 3 points to Manchester United. Moving on to Sunday's games. I'm not quite sure who picked the opening game for Sky on a Super Sunday, but it was far from super. West Brom against Middlesbrough, 0-0. If anyone can think of any highlights from the game that stand out, please drop them in the comments box, because I'm struggling. It was a dire game, in fairness, so we'll just brush over that as a 0-0 and forget about it. Last game of the weekend was Manchester City against West Ham. Now, West Ham are missing bundles of players for this game in the threadbare squad they've got at the moment because of injuries, and it looked like a home banker for me, which it proved to be, with a 3-1 win for City. They scored quite early, in fairness, Manchester City, and from that moment they never really looked back, in all honesty. They just look a very well-rounded side under Pep. They go forward really well. It's a joy to watch, in fairness. West Ham did make it 2-1 at one point. Some sloppy defending, in fairness, from City, but they scored again late on. The talking point from that game will of course be, will Sergio Aguero get a 3-game ban? As I'm recording this on Monday afternoon, I've just checked and there's nothing broke on the FA from the match report yet, so we still don't know whether he's going to get a 3-game ban. Personally, I think he will and should. He's definitely swung the elbow, the fist is clenched, he's drawn back, and although he's not made much contact, the intent is there, and I think if it was Diego Costa had done it, we'd all be up in arms. So unfortunately, I think Aguero will miss the Manchester derby, which will be a huge blow for City, and I'm sure United will be loving the fact that he's not there. So guys, that was my review of the Premier League this weekend. Deadline day is on Wednesday, so after Wednesday we'll have a better idea of what squads look like. What I'm sure there's going to be a lot of business in and out of clubs. I have to say, there's some squads that look too big to what they've got, and there's some squads that look threadbare. So I'm sure deadline day with Jim Watt and the guys on Sky Sports will be exciting. I'll be watching it, and then we obviously have the international break. So there'll be no Premier League review next week. I might do one on the England game of Big Sam's first game in charge. So guys, cheers, thanks very much for watching all my videos. The feedback you guys have been giving me has been great. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Drop any comments you want to in the comments box. Anything you want to talk about next time out, drop it in there and we'll have a chat. Enjoy the rest of the day, guys. Thank you.